guys are having a wonderful, blessed day, because Grammy is having a wonderful, blessed day. Today I'm in the kitchen, and we're just going to have breakfast for supper. And I'm not going to really do a recipe. I just thought we would kind of ease back into being in the kitchen. Oh, tripods. Hi, family. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, blessed day. Grammy is having a wonderful, blessed day. Today, we are having Brenner. It's by my husband's choice. It's Memorial Day, and usually families are having cookouts and doing different things, but my husband had to work today. He got off at 3:30, and then he had to go to his second job and work until about 7 or 7:30, and his request was breakfast for dinner. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cook him some breakfast for dinner. So he wanted pork chops, some fried eggs, some fried potatoes, and some gravy and some biscuits. So that's what we're going to be cooking today, and I just thought I'd take you along. And sometimes there might be music while I'm chopping, and there might be some talking, but it'll be good to be back in the kitchen together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of turn you down here. We're just going to get the pork chops ready, and I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened over by my stove. I kind of had a little for some praise because I went into my local grocery store, and I want to show you this $2.46 for these beautiful pork chops, and that's what we're going to cook tonight. And our store really has a good selection for pork. Chicken's high here too. I know chicken's high everywhere that you go right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to spray this pan. I don't know if you can hear it, if it's picking it up, but I've got a hen laying an egg. She's a cackling and letting everybody else know that she's done her job, and they're welcome to go and look. Harold's already gathered the eggs today. We got 7, so that's one of the other 2 girls. I'm going to be adding some of this delicious steak seasoning to these. Let's bring them back over here so you can see. And what I like to do, because I'm trying to cook healthier, so I'm going to spray them on this side too, and that kind of helps them to crisp up in the oven. And so we're going to add a little bit of this steak seasoning to both sides. I'm going to kind of flip that over. Add a little bit on this side, and that'll be some delicious pork chops, and we're going to go into the oven with these at 350. Think about what we need to get done. So we're going to cut up a potato. Now I want to show you something. I'm only going to cut up this one potato for me and Grandpa Harold tonight. This one. But this is another one. Now, these are small compared to the one I got. I bought a bag of bacon potatoes from Aldi's, and I promise you that I got one that was the size of a football. It was that big. So let's put that over there. Let me grab my knife. Not happy with the selection of vegetables I got this time. They seem to be on the old side. So we're going to cut this up. I usually start by cutting it in half. I'm going to kind of turn the camera real quick so you guys can see my thing that I'm talking about here. I don't know if it's going to pick it up for you, but do you see this little spot that's down there by the stove? That spot over by the stove that I just showed you. I was cooking a couple of weeks ago, and I had set a pan back there, and there's a vent on the back of this new gas stove that I've got. And I'm just going to dice this potato. We're going to make a little bit of home fries out of it, but I'm going to cook them in the oven so they're healthier, and I don't have to use so much oil for them. So anyway, I'm cooking. Everything's fine. I'm in here by myself. And at that time, I was in some pain, so I was having to get up and down. And so I would put the stuff on the back of the stove to kind of keep it warm, because it's taking me a little longer to get supper ready. All of a sudden, I heard a pow! Like something had popped, and I thought, oh, it's the glass on the front of my stove. And I ran and looked. I couldn't figure it out. And when I started to do the dishes, I moved that pan that was sitting there out of the way, and I found that my wall had exploded. Now this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it put the heat from the oven under that pan, and it couldn't escape. And so it bubbled up this laminate that's on the wall that matches our countertop. and it made a giant bubble, and when it got so big, it went poof, and it exploded. It did sound like a shotgun going off in the kitchen. Scared me to death. So one of the things I'm going to have to get done is I'm going to have me a piece of metal cut for behind the stove so that doesn't happen again. And also, I can't put anything over that vent. That's a good idea too. So we're going to put these in the strainer because they're going to have to really be washed and rinsed. Okay. So I had 2 purple onions from Aldi's. Just bought them. Cut into them, and they were rotten on the inside. Both were rotten. So we're going to take and spray this skillet. We're going to put these potatoes in here. Now I rinsed these potatoes and then I dried them in a towel, a clean towel. And so now we're going to put this here. Now normally I'd put some onion in here, but because both of my purple onions were rotten and I didn't pick up a bag of white onion, I just thought I'd make it with purple onion this week. But we're going to hit these with a little bit of that seasoning salt. A little bit more pepper. A little bit more salt. These are going to go in the oven so they're crisp with the pork chops. Now our next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some homemade wheat biscuits. So let's put this in the sink. Okay, now we're going to make some wheat biscuits. And it's going to be a small batch of biscuits because it's just me and Grandpa Harold and Megan. She doesn't really eat a lot of biscuits. She may eat 1 or 2. And this is a self-rising mix and a whole wheat plain mixture of flour I got here. I got them for $1.30 and 69 cents at the store. They were on clearance. They were not out of date, and so I took the opportunity to buy them. I'm not scared of stuff. We can always add the stuff we need to it to get it going. So we're going to add about, I probably added 2 cups in here. And I'm sifting. And I'm going to add a little bit. Probably going to add about a tablespoon of baking powder to it. Okay, in here I have a cup and a half of warm milk. I've added a half a stick of butter in there. It's not even warm enough to really melt the butter, but just to try to get that yeast to activate. And I put a thing of instant yeast in there. And we're not going to really let this take time to rise and to do all that stuff and really work it. We're going to make biscuits, but kind of like an angel biscuit, but we're using the wheat flour. And so we're going to add this to this. And then what we're going to do is let the biscuit set for maybe about 30 minutes in the pan. Cover it with a towel before we put them in the oven. That's the only resting that I do. So we're just going to make a very small pan of biscuits. This was my mother's pan. This pan made us a lot of brownies when we were kids. A lot of brownies, a lot of different things. It's just an old pan. But let's get busy. We're ready to go. So like I said, 2 cups of my flour mixture in there, self-rising and plain whole wheat flour, because we're trying to eat a little healthier. And so we're going to add this cup and a half of milk and that half a stick of butter and that yeast mixture in there. And like I said, it's a fast yeast. And we're going to take our spoon. You can use a fork, whatever you need. Just try to work that butter in there. I'm just going to kind of use a spoon to kind of start incorporating that all together. Let me get over here where you guys can see better. I am having to kind of retrain myself. It's been so long since I've been in the kitchen. Camera angles and different things like that. And you can smell that yeast, so I know it's alive. It's smelling good. And I'm going to take and put a little bit of flour on my hands and just kind of squeeze and get that butter really incorporated in there and get all of that loose flour off the bottom of that bowl. And I'm getting it on my fingers, but it's okay. It's not going to be that big of a deal. I have a sink and I got soap. So, alright, that looks like it's worked pretty good. And some of this will incorporate back in when I begin to roll it out. So let's move this pan over and move the dough over. Get this into frame so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to sift some flour onto my little rolling out sheet here. And I'm going to grab just a little bit more from over here and just kind of work it on there. And like I said, it'll kind of work off your fingers. Let's move that. We don't need that anymore. So we're going to fold. See that butter? I'm just kind of pinching it. Working it in there. Hello. Some try to escape. We just caught it and brought it back. And I'm kind of folding it to kind of put layers in there. But I don't want to squeeze all of the air out of it. But I kind of want to get a layery biscuit. Okay. She's kind of trying to stick on me down here. And I tell you, I haven't been doing a whole lot of cooking because I haven't been able to stand. We've just been eating quick things. So let me come over here and we're going to cut that biscuit. And I'm going to try to get about 6 biscuits out of this. And you can see they're going to have some layers in there. And then what I do is when I put them in the pan, I flip them. And that way they're oiled on one side. We'll flip them. Kind of roll them around, get that flour off of them. Same way here. Flip them, get the flour off of them. I think there's one more here. That'll be 2 for me, a couple for Harold, and maybe 1 for Megan. Like I said, she doesn't really eat biscuits, but she might get a 1 out of there and eat them with some jelly. She's kind of a picky eater, and so she doesn't eat like we do. She eats different things. It's going to be a small one, but it'll be fine. We'll put it in there. There we go. Now I'm going to cover these up with a towel. I'm not going to set them on my stove because my stove gets too hot. And let me cover these up to rest for 30 minutes. And we'll come back and I'll get this mess cleaned up. Grammy will be right back. I'm just eyeballing it because I'm so used to making this. So we're just going to kind of put that in there. That's probably about a cup. And like I said, this is my pepper gravy mix, and I'm probably just going to put a couple of handfuls in there, maybe a little bit more. I want it to be kind of on the thick side. Rather add more than not enough. And then my beautiful, wonderful family member that sent me this rubber handled whisk, I want you to know I love it and I thank you for it. Every gift I get from you guys, I just treasure it. This one's really nice because it's easy for my wrist. I don't have to worry about getting cramps with it. And so we're going to start working with this. We probably are going to have to add some more milk to it. We're not going to make a whole lot because it's just me and Grandpa Harold eating tonight. I don't want to waste. Sure don't want to waste. So we're going to whisk this over a medium heat. Because we don't want to scorch our milk. So I'm going to turn that down a little bit. And let it start to get warm and start to thicken. Take the towel off. Oh yeah, those are looking good. Look at that. We're going to have some real fluffy ones and a couple of little ones. That's okay. They're going right in the middle of that oven. Let's go back to stirring. going to go in the living room and sit down for a minute and rest my leg. So that's what I'm planning on doing. And whenever we're ready to fry some eggs and everything's ready to pull out of the oven, I'm going to come back and we're going to plate some stuff up, and we're going to eat some Brenner, and it's going to be good. I'll be right back. Alright, now it's time for some fried eggs. We got the biscuits browning in the oven. And I got to keep my eye out on them because I don't want them to get overdone. And the potatoes are just about done. We're just going to let them get a little bit brown, but we're going to get both of our eyes on. This thing's supposed to cook here, but I don't really like it to cook here because you get cold spots on either end. So I just use my 2 burners and usually pull this over. And the back one usually has to sit a little higher than the front. The front's a real high heat burner. So we're going to let that heat up, and then we're going to put some spray on it. And we're going to fry some eggs up. And I'm going to be frying some eggs for my dogs too, because I've got a dog that has wheat allergies. So every night I always make her up something that's kind of like a pure meat with some veggies. Sometimes she eats some soy product snacks and dry dog food, but for their main dinner they get a little bit of eggs with a little bit of turkey cut up in it or something. Nothing too expensive, too extravagant. I'm not Richie Rich, but I do the best I can. So we're going to spray this really good. And check those biscuits again, because I don't want them to get too brown. And we're going to do a whole bunch of eggs at one time. So I'm going to bring my egg bowl over here. Look at these beautiful eggs that my girls have been producing. And I've got even more over there. I'm probably going to do a dozen up and help out somebody in the town. I don't sell them. I bless somebody with them. So there's one egg. The dogs get 4 because there's 2 dogs, and I just feed Tilly what I have to feed Lacey. But Lacey lost all of her hair about 2 years ago, and about once a year I'd have Lacey's hair cut off, and I just had to get her hair cut this year, and it really wasn't that long. It's just that she doesn't do well in the summer heat, so I thought I'd go ahead and get her done. So that's there, and so I'm going to have 1 egg back here. And I'm not going to do Grandpa Harold's right now because until he comes home. So let's look at these biscuits. Let's look and see if they're ready to pull out. I think the potatoes are. Oh, these whole wheat biscuits. Look at that. Look at that. Then they are done. So we're going to just kind of set them up in the middle. And I'm going to cut this heat off. I'm just going to leave those potatoes in there just for a little while longer here. I'm going to get me 1 pork chop. 1 pork chop. I'm going to get me 1 biscuit. I'm going to get this biscuit right here. Oh, that biscuit looks so good. Let's get it with my pinchers so you guys can see it. Look at that. We're going to put that right there. I'm going to sit this down long enough to open that biscuit up with my spatula so you guys can see all of those layers that's in there. Can you see the layers? It's in that biscuit. And so now we're going to put some gravy. Get me a spoon out. Let you guys see the gravy go over that biscuit, and that's about all I want. I'm not that big of a gravy eater. Let's put the lid back on that. And then let's get the spatula. Put me a little bit of taters on there. And that's going to be my dinner. That's going to be my dinner. Let's turn you up here. Let me grab me I don't have any forks. All my forks are in the dishwasher. So, but let me taste this biscuit and this gravy, because that's what we kind of cook together. So look at that. Now let's taste the tater too. Hot, but delicious. anyway, that's what we're having for dinner tonight. You guys have a wonderful, blessed night, and it was wonderful to be back in the kitchen with you guys. Wonderful, wonderful to be back in the kitchen with you guys. So, I'm going to go have my dinner because, like I said, it'll be later before Grandpa Harold comes home. And I don't want mine getting cold. He doesn't mind his cold food being cold because he don't like hot food. A lot of times he'll let it sit and he'll watch TV for a little while before he eats. Not me. I like it hot out of the oven. So you guys have a wonderful, blessed evening. I love you. Until next time, I'm Grammy Nene in the kitchen. God bless.